or students. A very good afternoon to all of you all. Right. Students who are joining physical and students who are joining online. Okay, right. So students, today we are going to discuss or we are going to move on to a new area, right? In lesson number one, as I told you earlier, lesson number one has two areas, right? Or two parts, right? Where last week we completed discussing about the fundamentals of business, right? So we learned about all the fundamental concepts of business, right? That is fully all the concepts are being nicely explained, right? I hope that you all don't have any doubts about it, right? So today, students, we are going to move on to the final part or part B of lesson number one, where we're going to talk about business environment, right? Where we're going to talk about business environment, right? Okay, right, right. So basically, students, what do you mean by this business environment, right? What do you mean by this business environment? අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා මේ ව්‍යාපාර පරිසරයක් කියලා කියනවා, right? Right? කියනවා ව්‍යාපාර පරිසරය, right? Okay, right. So when you look at a business organization, students, right, 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 a business organization, right, will be doing its business operations in an environment, right? In an environment where in this environment you will get to find lots of individuals, right, right, or group of individuals, or different types of institutes, right, right, will be there in this business environment or will be there in this environment that will influence the operations of your business, right, right, because in the business environment, students, you are not the only business, you are not the only company who is operating, right? With you, you have ample amount of competitors in different industries, right? Okay, right, right. So likewise, students, in this we are going to discuss about different types of factors that will influence your business operations, right? Okay, right. So students, will before further delay, we'll move on to the main context, right? Or the first part that we need to learn in business environment. Before we go to a deep dive into the concepts, first we need to learn about stakeholders. First we need to learn about stakeholders, right? Stakeholders, right, right. So before we take things forward, how many of you all know about stakeholders? Let me make this a little bit bigger as well, right? Okay, fine. I think now it's fine. Okay, right, right. Stakeholders, how many of you all have heard about stakeholders, right? Stakeholders, right? එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා ව්‍යාපාරය කෙරෙහි ඇල්ම ඇති පාර්ශව කියලා කියනවා, right? ඇල්මක් ඇති පාර්ශව කියලා කියනවා, right? Right, in Sinhala we call it as ව්‍යාපාර කෙරෙහි ඇල්මක් ඇති පාර්ශව, right? Okay, right. Now, how many of you all have heard about stakeholders, right? Some of you all might have learned about stakeholders in your O levels, right, for commerce. Some of you all might not have, right? How many of you all? Yeah, right, right. Some of you all have heard about this, right? Don't worry, right? We'll dig deeper into the concept and we'll learn all the fundamentals about stakeholders, right? Right. So before we learn about the concept, students, let's first write. Let's first fill the blanks which is being given, right? So I'm going to give you the definition of a stakeholder of a business, right? Right. Individuals, right? Right. Individuals, right? Individuals, comma, groups or entities entities that have an interest, that have an interest, very important, that have an interest in the company, right? In the company or in the business organization, whatever, in the company, and can either affect, මේ බලපෑම් ඇති කරන්න පුළුවන්, can either affect or can be affected. Can be affected. Can be affected by the business. By the business. Business or company or what? Or business organization. Right? Okay? Right? So students, if you look at this definition very clearly, there are certain things, important things that you need to highlight. Okay, very important, right? What are those important ones, right? Now, these stakeholders could be individuals, right? Individuals like us, right? Right? Could be individuals like us, one person, or it could be a group. If you bring a group of individuals together, we can call it a group. So, these stakeholders could be a group, or else it could be an entity, right? What do you mean by entity? It could be another business organization, right? Right, right. Or it could be the government entity, right? Okay, right. So stakeholder could be either an individual or a set of individuals or an entity, and these stakeholders will have an interest on what? In your business organization. They do have an interest in your business organization. Okay. So why? Right? Why? Why these individuals or group of individuals or entities are having an interest in your business organization? Because students, these stakeholders, right? These stakeholders can affect your business, right? Can affect your business. වාගේ ව්‍යාපාරය කෙරෙහි බලපෑම් ඇති කරන්න පුළුවන්, right? Could be in a positive way or in a negative way. And also on the other side, the business organization can be affected as well, right? Which means these stakeholders can affect the business organization, and your business organization could also affect these stakeholders. Let me repeat it once again, right? These individuals or group of individuals or entities, right, can be affected by your business organization, right? Very specifically based on the decisions which is being made by the business organization, very specifically because of the activities conducted by this business organization, these stakeholders could get affected in a good way or in a bad way. And the other side of the story is these stakeholders can also affect your business in a good way or in a bad way, right? ව්‍යාපාරයක් හැටියට අපිට මේ ඇල්මක් දක්වන පාර්ශව එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ ස්ටේක් හෝල්ඩර්ස්ලාට බලපෑම් ඇති කරන්න පුළුවන්, right? අනිත් පැත්තෙන් මේ ස්ටේක් හෝල්ඩර්ස්ලාට පුළුවන් ව්‍යාපාරය කෙරෙහි බලපෑම් ඇති කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. Two parts of the coin, right? Okay, so students, that's why these stakeholders have an interest, right? Have an interest, right, towards business organizations, right? So let me take a very classic example, very simple example, and I will show you how a business organization could affect a stakeholder and how a stakeholder in response could affect a business organization, right? I will show you that by taking a small example. So let me go back to my notepad, right? Let me go back to my notepad, right? Okay, right, right. So students, in here, I'm going to take a key stakeholder, right? Customers, right? Customers are being taken as a key stakeholder of a business organization, right? Okay. So let's take customers because it's very easy because we are also customers and we can understand the concept very clearly, right? Okay. So you have a set of customers, right? You have a set of customers, right? Right, right, right. You have a set of customers, right? Right. You have a set of customers, right? Right. Customers, right? Customers just like us. They are all customers. Okay, right. And on the other side, we have our business organization. We have our business organization, right? We can call it as company A, right? This is our business organization. Business organization, right? Okay. Now, students, according to the definition, it says these stakeholders, or in our case, these customers will have an interest. These customers will have an interest, right? Interest. කැමැත්තක් තියෙනවා. Right? These customers will have an interest, right? Interest. These customers will have an interest, right? කැමැත්තක් තියෙනවා, right? Why these customers do have an interest towards this business organization? Why? Right? Right? Because you know, according to definition, right? These business organizations can affect these customers. And also on the other hand, these customers can also affect this business organization, right? Now let's assume, right? Let's assume this particular business organization or company A is offering, right? Let's say milk powder. So they are offering milk powder, right? Milk powder, right? They are offering milk powder. Milk. They are offering milk powder. Okay, milk. Milk. Okay, right? Company A is offering milk powder to whom? To the customers. Let's say, right? Now this business organization, right, is making a decision, right? This business organization is making a decision, right, where they want to increase the profits, right? They want to increase the profits. How are they going to increase the profits? They decide to buy inferior quality materials. Why inferior quality materials? Because inferior quality materials, අපි කියන්නේ බාල අමුද්‍රව්‍යනේ, right? You can buy it for a lesser price, right? So they decide to buy inferior quality material, right? බාල අමුද්‍රව්‍ය අඩු ගානකට අරගෙන to a very low cost so that they can reduce their production cost. They can reduce their production cost as much as possible, right? Right? As much as possible, right? So they want to reduce their production cost, right? Right? Production cost. Production cost. They want to reduce it. So what they did was they tried buying inferior quality material, lead to low production cost, right? Okay. And then they make the milk packet or the milk powder, right? Right. Right. Now we know that decision is a very unethical and a very bad decision, right? So they were able to reduce their production cost drastically, right? And as a result of it, they made good amount of profits as well, right? Very good profits, right? Very good profits, right? Because they sold this milk powder at a very high price to these customers, right? Now what happens, students, right? Right. These customers, they don't know anything about this situation, right? They will go to the supermarket or the nearest boutique shop, and then they buy regularly this milk powder. They don't know anything, and they paid a very good price also. They paid a very good price, but they don't know anything about it, right? Okay. But once these customers start consuming this milk powder, right, they they get to know that this milk powder is being prepared with inferior quality material, and that has led to lots of diseases. Very bad, very bad. Look how company A or business organization A affected, right? Right? Affected, affected these customers or these set of stakeholders. But in this case, right, company A affected these customers in a very negative way, right? In a very negative way. Why? By offering inferior quality milk products, but they charge a very good price as well. From their side, they are happy. They made good amount of profits, right? Now, this is only one part of the coin, students, right? I told you in the definition, right? There are two sides of the story. Now, in response, what do these customers do? They will also react to it. No? They will also react to it, right? 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 They will also react to it, right? Right? So, in response, what did these customers do? Right? Once they got to know, right, that these diseases are coming because of the consumption of these inferior quality milk products which is being offered by company A, they were very sad, they were very frustrated, and they stopped buying milk packets from company A, right? And they not only stopped from there, they started spreading this message to other customers, the fellow customers. They started putting what you call negative feedback on social media, right? Everywhere they started spreading this message that company A is offering inferior quality milk product that will lead to lots of diseases. Look how these customers or these set of stakeholders affected, right? Right? Affected, right? The business organization, right? Company A negatively affected these set of customers, and these set of customers also negatively affected. As a result of it, this message spread across the whole market, and people started rejecting the milk packets offered by company A, right? Rejected. As a result of it, what happened, right? Right? Their profits, right? Right? Their profits started to what? Not increase, but decrease. But decrease drastically. Drastically. Okay. Look how stakeholders can affect the business, and also they could be affected by the business organization also. And also the same story, it could happen in a positive way as well, right? Okay. So company A, right, trying to do lots of research and development activities, and they are trying to create a very good milk powder which is nutritious, right, which has all the nutritious elements, right, and they're trying to sell it at a very reasonable price. So it is being sold to the customers. Customers are very happy, right? Positively affected customers. As a result of it, customers will also positively react to it, and they will start, these customers will start uh, what do you call spread the message about this milk powder packet, and then these customers will refer other customers to come and buy this particular milk packet. No, they will refer, they will recommend. So as a result of it, what will happen? Once again, company A's profits will go up. Look how the same story in a negative way and in a positive way. Right? What I wanted to emphasize is, students, if you take stakeholders, right? If you take stakeholders, a business organization or the decisions which is being taken by a business organization could affect these stakeholders. It could be in a positive way or it could be in a negative way. And also on the other side, in response, these stakeholders could, on the other hand, affect the business organization in a positive way or in a negative way. So that's why I took the example of customers just to explain you the concept, because it's very easy. It's a very classic example, right? Okay. So students, this is the concept of stakeholders, right? So later we are going to discuss about different types of stakeholders, a list of stakeholders, right? Later we are going to discuss, right? So before that, make sure that you take a bit of time, draw this, and then we'll move on to discuss the other types of stakeholders. Go ahead. Go ahead. Students, we'll go back to the note if that is done, right? Right, cool, right. Okay, right. Right, okay. And students, apart from this particular first line, you can write another line, the second line for the definition, right? Okay. Stakeholders can be internal or external to the organization, right? Stakeholders can be internal or external to the business organization, right? So these stakeholders could be internal or external, could be internal, or they could be external as well, right? Okay, right. So later students, when we're discussing about this part, later we will be discussing who are very specifically the internal stakeholders and who are the external stakeholders. One by one, we are going to discuss. Okay, right. Okay, fine. Okay, students, now let's move on to the next part, right? Let's move on to the next part, right? Let's move on to the next part. We'll talk about different types of stakeholders, right? The first type of stakeholders we need to discuss is about customers, right? Is about customers, right? Okay. Now, students, who are customers, right? Who are customers? Very simple. You are also a customer. I'm also a customer, right? Right? It doesn't matter whether you went to a small shop and you bought a small piece of chocolate, right? You are a customer. You're a customer, right? So who is a customer, students, right? Who is a customer? Customers are individuals, or it could be organizations that purchase. It could be individuals or organizations that purchase products, right? Now, as an example, let's say Starbucks. You all know about Starbucks, right? It's one of the leading, what do you call, cafe chains in the world, right? And then Starbucks, they need to buy coffee beans, right? Right? Coffee beans from different coffee suppliers from Africa. So Starbucks is also a customer, a business organization purchasing. Understood? Right? 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 So customers could be either individuals or business organizations, right? That purchase and use the products or services offered by another business, right? Now, students, what matters in this part is, in your examination, there had been multiple times where they have asked about a particular stakeholder and they have requested you to write up to 2 to 3 interest areas, right? I told you, now you know, no? If you take a stakeholder could be interested in a particular business organization, right? So for each stakeholder, students, they will be having different interest areas, right? Okay. So you need to know what are the interest areas of each stakeholder, right? Right, right. Okay, you need to know that. Okay, right. Now, if you take customers, right, now students in here, you don't really have to what you call by heart, right? Now these things actually, I always say, when it comes to business studies, right? When it comes to business studies, you don't have to by heart anything, right? You don't have to by heart anything. This is a very practical subject, right? This is a very practical subject. So you can find the answers if you think practically, right? Right. You can find the answers very easily if you think practically, right? Right. So in that case, you don't have to worry about finding answers for business studies. But if you are a person who can think practically, you'll be able to find good answers, right? So don't worry. While you're going through this session, I will teach you how to think practically, right? Okay, right, okay, right, okay, fine. So students, just think as a customer. Just think as a customer, right? And what are the interest areas? Why are you interested in a particular business organization, right? Okay, why, right? Any answers? Just think as a customer, because you all are all customers. Why are you interested in a particular business organization, right? Yes, what is it? Yes, very good. Very good. Right? We are interested in a particular business organization because as consumers, we know we need to buy certain goods and services, right? We need to obtain certain goods and services. So we are interested in good quality products, right? Right? We are interested in good quality products. It could be either a good or a service, but in good quality, right? We always love to consume good quality products. That is one of the interest areas. Very good. You can write that answer, right? So I'm going to give you the answers, right? You can write. Okay. Right. Product service, right? The first answer, product and service quality. Product and service quality, right? Product and service quality, right? As a customer, you will always would love to buy a product which is highly reliable, no, which is durable, right, and which satisfies you, right, right. Number two, right, number two, what are the other things that you are interested as a customer, right? Reasonable prices, right? Reasonable prices, right? Reasonable prices, right? Reasonable prices, reasonable prices, right? Okay, right. So students, as a customer, right, 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 you are also would love to pay a reasonable price, not a very high price for the product that you buy, right? Okay. Unnecessary, you don't like to pay, right? If you're going to buy, let's say, a piece of chocolate, right? You don't like to spend around like 10,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees, or 20,000 rupees. That's unreasonable, no? Right, right. You have a small craving to have a, what do you call, a piece of chocolate, right? So you will spend around 100 rupees or 200 rupees, and for the price that you pay, you get a good chocolate. Then you're happy, right? Understood, right? So reasonable prices. Number three, right, right, right. Good customer service. Good customer service, right? Good customer service, right? Good customer service, right? Now, students, right? I also, as a customer, would be interested, right, in obtaining better customer service, right? So when we go to a shop, right, let's say when you go to a let's say clothing shop, right? When you go to a clothing shop just to buy some clothes, right, right, I would expect, or you would expect, to have very polite sales staff, no, right? So whenever you go into the shop, they will greet you saying, hello sir, good morning to you, please come in. And they will ask, what would you like to have, sir? right? Then you will say, I just want to buy uh, a shirt, right? A shirt. And they will say, okay, sir, then I will take you to the floor and I will guide you. And then he will ask, okay, what type of a shirt that you're looking for, sir? Is it for a party, or is it for a formal event? So they will be very polite. That is called customer service. Right? That is called customer service. Right? We don't like to go to a shop where it says, when we go in, the salespeople will scold you, right? And say, "Ayya dave, andunganda, munada dave." Okay, like, if they are not polite, right? Right? If they are not polite, you don't like to go to that shop hereafter, right? So in that case, students, you will expect better customer service. You will expect, and you will be interested to obtain a better customer service, right, for any product that you buy. Okay. And then if you get a good customer service, you will continuously go to that shop and start buying products continuously. Okay, right. Now these are actually, students, very simple ones, right? I'm just thinking as a customer and I'm just giving you some answers. Other one is, students, convenience. Convenience. Convenience is also another interest area nowadays that the customers would definitely value, right? Convenience, right? Right. Right. Let's say, right, you want to buy some groceries, and you have to, like, uh, take a taxi and go to the shop and buy the groceries, and it's sometimes it's very uh, it's a big hassle for you, ne? Poda karadaryak wage, ne? Right? But the grocery shop says, hey sir, you don't have to come, we have our online platform, so you could make the order online, you could pay online, and then we will deliver you the goods to your doorstep. Isn't that convenient? Yes. As customers nowadays, we value convenience, right? Okay. We don't like to go to a shop and just spend more time there. We have other things to do, right? So convenience is also another thing that a customer would be interested. Customer would be interested, right? So that's why, students, we have these online options, and also we have shops located in convenient locations, right? Right. Okay. Right. Then fifth one, what we can write? Another interest area we can write, students, brand reputation. Right? If you take brand reputation, right? Brand reputation, right? Right? Brand reputation, right? So students, as a customer, before you buy a product, right? You always look at the brand, no? Right? Okay. You don't like to buy products from an unknown brand, ne? Kene ahala නැති දැකලා නැති brand එකකින් එහෙම products ගන්න කැමති නෑ නේද, right? You always go for a brand which is known, right? Right? Okay, which is known, right? Right? If you want to buy some clothes, right? You always you go to Cool Planet, right? Or you go to Odell, right? Known brands, right? Known brands, right? Right? Because this brand reputation will create, I mean, through this brand reputation, the products that they offer is in good quality, reliable. There's good customer service, no? Right? Okay. If you want to buy a mobile phone, you'll go for Apple, even though you have Samsung or Huawei, Google, or whatever you have, you'll go for Apple because brand reputation, right? Okay. Because with this brand reputation, there's a lot of things which is hidden inside it, which is quality, reliability, customer service, after sales services, right? So students, as a customer, if you think as a customer, these are few of the areas that you will be interested in, right? That you will be interested in, right? That you will be interested in, right? So likewise, in your examination, they will ask you uh, to write different interest areas for different stakeholders, right? Okay, right. Okay, fine. So students, think practically, so that we'll move on to the second set of stakeholders. We can call them as employees. Vyapare sevakayo, right? Vyapare sevakayo, employees, right? Okay. Who are these employees? You all know, right? I have given you a small definition also. Employees are the people who work for the business. They're the people who work for the business, right? Okay, in a business organization, right? There are people who are working, right? Who are providing their skills, their knowledge to the output of the business organization. They are putting their effort, right? For that, the business organization is paying them a salary, right? Paying them a salary. As a result of it, because of these efforts of these employees, we can achieve the goals of the business organizations, right? Okay, right? Okay, simple, right? Right. Now you can put this to the definition and see, right, how the employees will affect and how business organization will back again affect the employees, right? If employees work well, put their 100% effort to the business organization, right? Right. As a result of it, the business organization will gain more profits because it will be able to achieve their goals. When the business organization makes good profits, when they treat all these employees well, these employees will stay in the company for a foreseeable future. But on the other side, if the organization is treating employees or makes the decision to treat employees unfairly, not paying the salaries on time, right, right, not equally treating each other, employees will be sad. So the employees will leave. When they leave, what happens? The organization is unable to achieve its goal and then they won't be able to make profits. You can apply every stakeholder to that example which I explained, right? Okay. So students, as an employee, what are the areas that you are interested in? Right? What are the areas that you are interested in? Right? Right. Number one, the most important one is what? The most important area I told you, right? Everyone would work for a salary. Right? Everyone would work for a salary, not a lower salary, but for a fair salary, right? Fair salary, right? Right? Fair salary, right? Fair salary and also some benefits also, right? Fair salary and benefits, right? Right. So students, based on the effort that you put in, they will expect as employees, you will expect a fair salary, right? For the effort that you put, you don't expect a lower salary, but a fair salary. And also on top of that, you will expect some benefits also, no? Working in an organization, right? But you'll be given a nice vehicle, no? Right? Fuel allowance is given to you, right? Food is given to you, some organizations, right? Some organizations will give you, what do you call, opportunities to recreate yourself, no? Recreational activities, they will give you free of charge gym passes, no? Right? Okay. All those things, right? Yoga sessions, no? Right? Benefits, right? Benefits, okay. What else, students? Right? As an employee, you'll be interested about the job security. Job security, that's another answer, right? Job security, right? Job security, right? Right. So would you like to work for an organization which is in the verge of bankruptcy? නේ බංකොලොත් වෙන්න ඔන්න මෙන්න තියෙන ව්‍යාපාරයක වැඩ කරන්න කැමතිද? කවුද කැමති? නේ කවුරුත් කැමති නෑනේ, right? You don't like, because there is no job security. You don't know, whether you're going to lose the job tomorrow because the company is in the bankruptcy, in the verge of bankruptcy. නේ බංකොලොත් උනොත් එමේ හෙට කියනවා යන්න කියලා ගෙදර. No job security. So in that case, when you are looking for a business organization to work, you look whether you can work in an organization for a foreseeable time period so that you could plan things ahead, right? Job security. Number 3, right? Number 3, right? Safe working conditions, right? Safe working conditions, right? Right. Safe working conditions, right? Safe working conditions, right? Okay. Right. So students, when you're working in an organization, you would request the organization to have better work arrangements that will reduce any accidents, right? Or any hazardous situations, right? Let's say, as an example, you're working in a factory and you're dealing with a lot of chemicals, no? Right? In manufacturing factories, you deal with a lot of harmful chemicals, right? So in that case, students, as an employee who is working in the factory floor, you would be interested in getting safety gears, gloves, helmets, right, masks, and everything. Otherwise, if you just, what do you call, if these chemicals spill on your skin, or what do you call, I mean, it'll have a negative impact to you. Sometimes you might lose your life as well. You might lose your life. You might die. We don't know. So, as an employee, you would request or you would be interested to work in a safe working conditions where you would be given proper working arrangements, right? If you're working in an office, you would be interested to have a nice table to you, right? With a nice comfortable chair, right? Because you have been seated the whole day. Otherwise, if you're not being provided with those, right? If you have been given a chair which is not comfortable, right, then you will have back issues, spinal issues in the future. You don't like that, okay, right? Then number 4, very important, students, the fourth point, we can say work life balance. Work life balance, another interest area of an employee who is working in an organization. Work life balance, right? So students, nowadays, if you take, life has become very strenuous, no, right right everyone is like in a rat race, no, right? Early morning, wake up, go to office, come back, right? Sometimes you don't even find time to stay with your family members as well. There are instances where some parents, they don't get to meet their children, their kids, during the weekdays. They only meet their children only just 1 day per week, right? right right so that is strenuous, right? It's okay to work, it's okay to be workaholic, right? That's okay, but you get to balance your personal life as well. You get to balance your personal relationships as well. If you are a father, you have to look after your wife, you have to look after your kids, right? It's very important, right? Because until you die, you cannot work, no. But more than that, what matters is the personal relationships that you have. So in that case, student, as an employee, you would be interested to work in an organization which helps you to balance your work responsibilities and your personal responsibilities as well. Okay, right, right. So that's why, students, in some organizations, you don't have fixed times to come and work, right, right. You don't have fixed times, right. But you have, instead of having fixed times, you have flexi times. Flexi times, right, right. Flexi times, or you can say flexible work arrangements, right? Flexible work arrangements where you can come to office anytime you want and you do the corresponding task which is been assigned to you on that day. And if you finish off your tasks early, then you can go home. You can go home. Flexible times. Flexible times. Okay, right, right. Some organizations, I know, they give a holiday on Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no work. You have to work only from Monday to Thursday, right? Okay. So 3 days you are getting off so that you can go uh, on trip with your family, right? Spend time with your family. 3 days, more than enough, right? Okay, right, right. So those are called, students, flexible work arrangements that will help an employee to balance his work arrangements as well as his personal life. Otherwise, if this is not there, students, what happens, right? It will go into extreme cases and people, I mean, a lot of people will get mental disorders, right? And they will, I mean, their whole life will be at risk after that. That's why people go into these, I mean, they get themselves suicide, no, right? Because Most of the cases because of the stress at work, because of the stress at work, right? So in that case, nowadays, students, employees would be interested in obtaining uh, work-life balancing arrangements in business organizations, right? Okay. Then another point we can write, student, right? Another point, because I'm going to give you around 4 to 5 points for each stakeholder, so that you can get the best points and you can keep them in your mind, right? Okay. Another interested area as an employee would be training and development opportunities. Training and development opportunities. Training and development opportunities. Training and development opportunities. Right? Okay. Right. So students, as an employee, right? Right. Let's say, just think about yourself. You start working after A levels, right? Okay. After A levels, you start work to an organization as an intern, right? Okay. Right. So you don't like to stay as an intern, right? During the rest of your life, no? How many of you would like to stay as an intern during the entire career or the rest of the life until you stop working? Don't like, right? Right. You want to grow yourself, right? You started as an intern, you want to become a manager one day, then you want to become a senior manager, then you want to become a general manager and the CEO, director. You want to go up in the ladder, right? Corporate ladder, right? So, students, as an employee, you would, if you want to go up in the corporate ladder, you need to improve different skills, new skills, right? New skills, right? Right. You need to add new skills. You need to improve your knowledge on how to run the business. Then only you will be given managerial positions. For that, you need to train and develop yourself. For that, organizations could give you opportunities. That's why sometimes you might also have heard, sometimes your parents might have also told you, all right, right? Employees have been given foreign training, right? Where they be given the opportunity to go to a foreign country, right? And take part in a uh, what do you call training and development program for like 1 week. You go there, you learn, and then you come back, develop yourself. And even in organization, students, we have like once in 2 months, there are certain training arrangements are being organized, right? It could be about presentation skills, it could be about public speaking skills, it could be about improving your management skills, your time management, right? So all these training is provided free of charge by the organization to develop yourself, your skills, your knowledge, right? So as an employee, you would be interested in obtaining these training and development opportunities. Understood, right? Okay, fine, good. All right. So that's about employee students, right? So I always say, think as a stakeholder, right? Now, earlier we discussed about customers. So you got to wear the shoes of a customer and think like a customer and write what are the interested areas, right? Okay. Then if you are an employee, if you're talking about employees, just wear the shoes of employees. Think as an employee and understand what are the areas that you are interested in. What are the areas that you are interested in, right? Employees, right? Okay, fine, good. All right, students. So you also can add to this list. So I have given you some sample answers, right? Okay, right. Now we'll move on to the next set of stakeholders. Oh, very important. Shareholders or owners of the business organization, right? Shareholders or owners of the business organization. And vyapare aitikaru, right? Vyapara aitikaru, right? Okay, right, right, right. Sometimes students, right? Uh, you invest your money in a particular business organization because you own that business, right? Or else sometimes you might buy shares of a business organization, no, right? If you go to the Colombo Stock Exchange, right, right, if you have a what do you call CDS account, right, right, you can buy shares of any public limited company, right? Okay, so we are going to talk about public limited companies in lesson number 4. So public limited companies are those companies who are offering shares in the Colombo Stock Exchange, right? They have the permission to offer these shares to the general public. So anyway, students, you might invest your money simply by buying few shares of a particular company, then you will also be taken as an owner. Then you'll be called as a shareholder. Or else you invest your money in another company, right? So anyway, either you can be a shareholder or an owner, right? But anyway, what they do is they invest capital, right? They always invest capital, right? Right? They invest capital, pragdane, right? In the business and expect the business to earn returns, ne? Right? Okay. Now, students, now as a shareholder or an owner of a business organization, what are the areas that you are interested in? Right? What are the areas that you are interested in? Just as I told you, students, think as a think as an owner of a business, right? Think as an owner of a business, right? And just give me some answers, right? Okay, right. So if you invest in a company, what is the first thing that you will be interested? Profit, exactly. Very good, right? Very good answer, right? Right, we can write, right? Number one, adequate profits, right? Adequate profits, right? මම නිකම් profits ලිව්වේ නැහැ, right? Adequate කියලා කියන්නේ for the investment that you make, you need to get enough profits. That's why we call it as adequate profits, right? Okay, right, right. Otherwise, you invested like 1 million and you get a profit of 1 rupee. That is not adequate. That is inadequate, right? Okay, right. Okay. So adequate profit, students, that is one of the things that you will be interested if you invest in an organization, right? You need to get profits, right? Right. Then number two, right? Right. Number two, right? Right. You will be interested in return on investment, right? Return on investment, right? Return on investment. Others we can call it as ROI, right? Right. So return on investment, it's actually as an owner, before you invest, right? You need to look whether I would get a considerable amount of return over time, not just one day. Continuously, whether you would get a return, right, from the business. That is called return on investment, because you put money and then you should get returns on a continuous basis. Understood? That is called return on investment, right? So when you all are doing what you call accounting, right? In grade 13, you will be calculating financial ratios. Under that, you will be calculating return on investment, right? So as an individual, before you invest, you'll calculate the return on investment. And from that, you can see whether you're going to get a considerable amount of return in the future for the investment that you make or not. Understood? Right? So return on investment. Then students, the third one, you will be interested for dividends. Dividends, right? Right? Dividends, right? As a shareholder, as an owner of the business, you have a particular percentage, you own a particular percentage in the business. Could be 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, whatever, it doesn't matter. For the amount of percentage that you hold in the business, you get a dividend. So very simply, students, dividends means, right, when the company makes profits, right, when the company is making profits, right, part of the profits, right, part of the profits will be given out as dividends to the people who has invested in your business organization. Okay, those are called dividends, right? Okay, right. So anyway, we are going to learn about dividends in lesson number 4, right? But for the time being, just remember, dividends are being paid, right, from the profits that is being generated, right? part of the profits will be given out as dividends to the shareholders or the owners of the business organization based on the percentage that they have. Okay, right. Next one, right? Okay. Fourth one, you can write business growth, right? Business growth, right? Business growth, right? Okay. So as an owner of a business or as a shareholder of a business, students, right? You would be interested if you have invested in a business. You would be interested in the growth of that business, right? Right? You don't like to invest in a company which is in the verge of bankruptcy. බංකොලොත් වෙන්න ඔන්න මෙන්න තියෙන ව්‍යාපාරයක උගොල්ලෝ invest කරන්න කැමතිද නෑ නේද? නේ, right? Okay? නේ? අපරාධයක් නේ, right? Okay? So you would be interested if you invest in a business organization, you would be interested to that business to grow, right? Okay? Right? How a business is growing? Through increasing its sales, through increasing its customer base, right? Right? By entering into new markets, right? Okay. By introducing new products, through all those things, business growth could be highlighted or could be symbolized, right? So as an investor, you would like to invest in a company which grows, right? Then only what happens when a business grows, the profits of that company will grow, and then you get a better return on investment continuously, and better dividends as well if you are a shareholder, right? Okay, right. Okay, then the next point, right? The next point you can write, right? Increase in market share, right? Increase in market share, that of course we discussed under business growth also, right? Right, which means, right, as a owner of a business, right, you would like to increase your share of business. I think I explained about market share when we were discussing the fundamentals in the fundamental concepts of lesson number 1, right? Right. So if you are into biscuit manufacturer, you're not the only producer of biscuits. You have competitors. So how to increase your market share? Simply by attracting customers from other biscuit manufacturers to your biscuit, right? So then you are increasing your market share, right? Right. You can increase your sales. That will lead to increase in your market share, right? So when you are increasing your market share, means you are getting more customers. You're achieving more customers. More customers means more sales coming in. More sales means more profits coming in. So as an owner, you're good. Hey, you're good, right? Okay, fine, good. So students, these are the areas that a particular owner or a shareholder would be interested, right? Would be interested in a business, right? You can add more few points also if you wish, right? Okay, right? Right? The game is what you call open to anyone to add any points. Okay, right? Okay, good. All right, students, right? So this is about shareholders, right? This is about shareholders, right? Okay. Now we'll talk about managers, right? Now we'll talk about managers, right? Okay, right. So before we talk about managers, just take around 1 minute and just what do you call reconcile what you all have learned as of now under stakeholders, because we have other 4 to 5 stakeholders to discuss, right? Just take around 1 minute and reconcile what we have learned. Go ahead. Students, we'll move on to the next type of stakeholder, right? We can call them as managers, right? Right? Managers, right? අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා කළමනාකරුවෝ කියලා, right? අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා කළමනාකරුවෝ කියලා. Right? Okay? Now students, who are these managers, right? Very simply, managers are the individuals who are very important to a business organization, because they are the people who are making important decisions in the business organization, right? 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 Very important decisions, right? Those decisions will make sure that the day-to-day operations are being properly executed, right? 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 Without any problem, right? So these managers got to make very good decisions, and they have to be responsible for the decisions that they make, right? Okay. So we have different types of managers based on their skills and the knowledge that they have. So in finance, we have finance managers. They're the people who has the responsibility to manage all the finances of the business organizations. Then we have marketing managers who has the responsibility to create awareness about the products that they make. So for that, they have to make a lot of decisions how to take the product to the market. Then we have, let's say, production managers or operations managers who are interested in handling the operational activities in the factory flow, right? Scheduling the machines on time, right? Making sure that the resources are being put to the machines on time without any wastage, right? So likewise, students, we have different types of managers who are working in a business organization at different capacities, okay, right? And they make a lot of decisions, right? Okay, right. So managers are responsible for planning, right? Planning, organizing, leading, and controlling of business activities, right? Okay, right. So these are actually four pillars in management: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. These are four pillars in management where you will be learning about these four pillars one by one in grade 13, right? In grade 13 under lesson number 12. Okay, right? Right. So managers are interested. I mean, managers are there or responsible to handle all these pillars where they go to plan things out, right? It could be planning on how to allocate resources, how to allocate the tasks to different individuals, right? Organizing, right? Organizing means what you call making teams, giving responsibilities to different individuals inside teams so that everyone could work towards one common goal, right? And then leading is another important element that needs to be executed by a manager. A manager has a team. So a manager should be able to give right guidance to the teammates so that everyone could achieve their goal. And then controlling, right? If things are not going according to the plans, then you got to control it. You have to find what went wrong and solve it. So those are the main four pillars in management, right? As a manager needs to execute them, right? Okay, fine. So ultimately all these things are done, students, as a manager just to achieve the organization's goals and objectives. Okay, right. Now, students, as a manager, what are the things that you are interested in? Just think as a manager, right? Right. Even your parents might also be managers in large conglomerates, in large business organizations, right? Okay, right. I am also a manager, right, in a particular organization, right? Okay, right. So, as a manager, what are the areas that you are interested in from a business organization, right? Number one, number one, right? Success, right? Success of, you can write with me, success of managerial decisions, success of managerial decisions, managerial decisions, right? So as a manager, I told you, you will be making lots of decisions, right? You will be making lots of decisions, right? Right, into different parameters. You could be in finance, you could be in production, you could be in marketing, but anyway you'll be making lots of decisions. So as a manager you will be interested, right? As a manager you will be interested in the success of these decisions. Up to what extent these decisions are successful, you would like to make sure that all the decisions that you make is successful. But if you make an unsuccessful decision, that will lead to lots of waste in your operational activities, lots of waste in your resources, right? Time, efforts, all those things will go down the drain. So it's a huge wastage. So you will have to make sure that you make right decisions, right? Right. Then the second point, right? The second point, right? Another interest area of a manager is what, students, right? Job security, right? Job security, right? Right. Now, if you look at a manager, right? Right. If you look at a manager is also just like a normal employee who is working for an organization, right? So he would also would love to work for an organization which is sustainable, right? He would not like to work in an organization which is in the verge of bankruptcy. Then there is no job security, right? There is no job security, right? Because these managers will also have a family to look after. If the job is uncertain, they won't like it, right? So job security is another factor that needs to be considered by a manager interested. Number three, now students, if you look at these managers, they are interested in advancing their careers, right? Career advancements, right? Career advancements, right? Right, right, right. Career advancements through promotions, right? So a manager would like to become a senior manager, a general manager, right? Right. And you can go to the top of the ladder, right? So when you go from manager positions to other positions above, the responsibilities that you get is very high. So these managers would be interested in that, right? Through promotions, they want to advance their career, they want to increase their profile, right? And then get more responsibility to give more contribution to the business organization, because when you go up in the corporate ladder, more responsibilities, more important decisions has to be made. So that will give you some interest, career advancements. And on the other side, that will give you lots of benefits and perks as well. Your salary will also increase, the benefits that you get will increase. No, right? Okay, right, right. Next one, right, right. Another point, as a manager, you will be interested in recognition, recognition, right? Recognition and achievement, right? Recognition and achievement, right? Okay, right. Now, as I told you, students, these managers will make lots of important decisions that will impact the performance of the business organization. I told you, no, if they make wrong decisions, that will definitely impact negatively to the operations of the business. But if they make successful decisions, that will bring a lot of benefits to the business, a lot of profits to the business. So then in that case, they have done something big. So for that, they need to be recognized. So they will be interested in that, right? Right. So basically, they will be interested in what do you call, going for an award ceremony of the business organization and get an award, right? Right, for the contribution that they have made. That's why in business organizations too, you have these award ceremonies, annual award ceremonies, and they will be giving or they will be recognizing the high performance, right? High performance, right? Okay, right. And they will be given cash awards, right? Then they will be given foreign tours, no, right? To the high performance, right? Recognition is very important. Even in your life also, students, if you put a lot of effort and then no one is actually recognizing you, you feel very down, no? I mean, you feel very sad. We're all human beings. We need to be motivated, right? So in that case, as a manager, for the contribution that he has made, he would like to be recognized. He would like to be recognized. Okay. So student, that's about a manager, right? That's about a manager. We'll straight away move on to suppliers, right? I told you, no, right? We are going to discuss, right? We are going to discuss different types of stakeholders that is there in your business, right? We are going to discuss different types of stakeholders that is there in your business, right? Right, right, right. So next we are going to talk about suppliers. Right, next we are going to talk about suppliers, right? අපි කියනවා මේගොල්ලන්ට මේ සැපියුම් කරුවන්, right? Right? සැපියුම් කරුවන්, right? Suppliers, right? So who are these suppliers? You know already, right? 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 Suppliers, right? Suppliers provide raw materials, goods, and services required for business operations, right? So these suppliers will provide different things like raw material, right? Right, right. If you are a, if you are having a cafe chain, no, right, right. You have suppliers who are offering you coffee beans, no, right, right, okay. Not only coffee beans, on top of that, right, other goods and services you need to obtain from other suppliers as well, right? Like there are suppliers who are providing you what do you call uh, utility, right? Utility services, water, electricity services being offered by different suppliers, right? Right, right, right. Based on your business, you will need to obtain different types of raw materials, goods, and services from different types of suppliers, right? Now, as a supplier, just think you're a supplier. You're supplying goods to another business organization. What are the areas that you are interested? Think as a supplier now, right? Right. The supply කෙනෙක් විදිහට හිතන්න බලන්න. You're a supplier. You are offering lots of material to other business organizations. So what are you interested in? Number one, the most important one, right? For the orders that you have supplied, right? You need timely payments, no, right? Right? Timely payments, right? Timely payments. Think as a supply student, then you can get answers, right? Okay, right, right. Most of the time, students in business world, right, right. Most of the times, majority of the orders are being provided on credit. Because the quantities which are being produced, the order quantities which are being given to companies are very large, and even the monetary value is also very large. So in that case, you'll be given some time to settle the payments to the suppliers. So these suppliers will ensure that as a business organization, you will pay them on time. You will pay them on time. Okay, right. Number two, right, right. As a supplier, they would like to have a long-term business relationship, right? Long-term business relationship, right? Long-term business relationship, right? Long-term business relationship. Okay, right, 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 right. Why suppliers are interested in having long-term business relationships? I mean, just think practically. If a supplier has to find customers every single day, that'll be a big hassle, no, right? But more than that, as a supplier, you would like to have one or two customers or other business organizations who are continuously buying from you big quantities. That'll be easy for you as well. So that is called long-term business relationship, and this will ensure as a supplier you get a stable income continuously, right? Stable income continuously. Okay, right. Number three, right? Number three, okay. Reliable demand forecast. Reliable demand forecast. Reliable demand forecast. What do you mean by that? Reliable demand forecast. Right, right, right. So as a supply students, right? Now you have been given certain orders, no? Right, okay, right. Let's say as an example, right? You are a, uh, let's say, we'll take our normal example, right? You are a coffee bean supplier. You are a coffee bean supplier. Coffee beans supplier. You are a coffee bean supplier, right? Right. You are a coffee beans supplier, right? And then you supply coffee beans to barista. No, you know barista, right? Right. One of the, I mean, one of the very popular cafe chain in Sri Lanka, right? Okay. So you're offering coffee beans to what do you call barista, right? Okay. Right. Now, as a coffee bean supplier, right? You know that barista will give you continuous orders. And not only that, you will be interested, you will be interested in getting accurate estimates of future orders, right? Every month. Now this is June, right? Let's say from July, July, August, September. Likewise, right? 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 You would like to expect that barista will give you accurate estimates. Let's say barista will say, okay, July end we need 100 kilograms, right? 100 kilograms, right? August we need 150 kilograms. September we need 75 kilograms. Likewise, students, likewise, if barista gives you an accurate estimate of the orders in the future, then in advance as a coffee supplier, coffee bean supplier, you can make arrangements to provide these or supply these orders on time, right? It will be very easy for you. But what if you're not been getting these accurate orders, right? Right? And you have been asked to provide 150 kilograms of coffee beans tomorrow in the morning. Today they give a call and say, right? Right? Will you like it? No, right? It's very hard to find. I mean, you don't grow coffee at your garden, right? You got to get it from somewhere. Takes time for the process, right? So in that case, a supplier would be interested in a reliable demand forecast. A reliable demand forecast. Then number 4, right? Clear communication, very important, right? Clear communication, right? Clear communication is also another interest area. Why? Because as a supplier, you need to get clear communication about the orders, the number of orders, the quantity, right? Right? How often you have to deliver? Is it like every day or like once in 2 weeks or once a month, right? Delivery scheduling, right? So likewise, as a business organization, you need to communicate properly. That is one of the interest areas of a supplier. Otherwise, he cannot plan things accordingly. He cannot plan things accordingly, right? Okay, right, right. And also, fifth one, you can write another interest area: fair business practices. Fair business practices, right? Fair business practices, right? So the supplier would be interested in doing business with you in a very straightforward and in an honest way, ne? Right? Avanka vidhiyata වැඩ කරන්න ආසයි. If they are now normally, if you are a supplier, you will have an agreement with a corresponding business organization who is buying from you. So you will be interested if your customer or the business organization is following the policies which is being given in the agreement, not breaching them, right? Fair business practices, right? Fair business practices, right? Okay, fine. Okay. So this is about student supplies. Now look how easy these things, students, right? Right, right. Look how easy, right? These things, right? You just need to think practically, and you just need to wear the shoes of that corresponding supplier, and then you can get lots of points, right? You can get lots of points. Now don't think that I'm actually I have by heart all these points and just what do you call cramping them to you. Not really, right? These points, yes, I have noted them down, right? But those points actually practical points which came to my mind. So I was just thinking as a stakeholder, right? In your examination also, students, you will have to think as a stakeholder. You will always have to think as a stakeholder, and then you can find answers. Then you can find answers. Okay, we'll move on to the next stakeholder. Very important, the government. Oh, right, very important, right? The government, ne, Rajay, right? Government is also key stakeholder, right? Right, right. Government is also key stakeholder, right? So government, what do they do? Government and other regulatory bodies are taken here, right? Okay. Because now when you're doing business, students, you cannot do whatever you like to do, right? There are corresponding laws and regulations that you need to follow, right? There are corresponding laws and regulations that you need to follow in a country, right? When you're doing business, you have to follow those laws and regulations, right? If you breach those laws and regulations, right, yes, then you will have to face some legal battles, ne? Right? Usavi ande vena, no? Right? Okay, fine, okay, right? All right. So, students, as the government, what do they, what are they interested in through a business organization? Huh? Right? What is the first point? I told you just now, right? Number one, they will be interested if the businesses are complying, right? Complying with laws and regulations, right? Complying with laws and regulations, right? Right? Government do like this. They want all of their business organizations to follow the law and order of the country, right? Right? Produce products, offer services, but according to the laws and regulations of the country. Don't breach them. Okay. If you breach them, they have penalties and other actions which are being taken against you, right? Okay. Then second one, very important, right? Yes. What are the other? Yes, taxes. Exactly. Right. Payment of taxes. Right. Payment of taxes. Payment of taxes. Yes. Right. 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 So taxes, right? Or the tax revenue is one of the most important revenue streams, right? One of the most important revenue streams for the government. So the government will be using these taxes for what? To improve the infrastructure facilities of the economy, right? Of the country, like roads, highways, no, railway stations, what do you call bridges, airports, right? So infrastructure development, these taxes will be allocated, or these taxes will be allocated for social welfare. Some funds will be allocated to national hospitals, right? National hospitals will be allocated. There are national schools where people go to these students go to these schools, but free of charge you can learn. If you go to national hospitals, free of charge you can get medicine. So for that, the government will bear a cost. Those costs are being covered through these taxes, which is being paid by the organization. So the government would love all the companies to pay taxes on their profits on time. If you don't pay taxes, or if you evade taxes, නේ අපි කියන taxes ගෙව්වේ නැත්නම් tax evading කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Tax ගෙවන්න නැතුව හොරට ඉන්නවා, right? Now you can't actually do it right now. Everyone has to have a tin tin number, and to that all the transactions will be uh, captured, right? So now you cannot evade taxes. If you evade taxes and if you're found guilty, then you will have to pay lots of penalties, and sometimes you could go to prison as well. Okay, right? So payment of taxes very important. Third one, right? Consumer protection. Consumer protection, right? So consumer protection is something that we will be learning in large scale in lesson number 3, students, right? පාරිභෝගික ආරක්ෂණය කියලා, right? Okay. So the government is interested if business organizations are offering safe products to customers, not products which are not in quality. And governments will ensure that if business organizations are having confidential information about customers, to protect them rather than leaking them into third parties anonymously, right? Okay, right, right, right. And protecting consumer rights, right? Okay, right. So as a business organization, you have to ensure that you protect the customers when you're offering your products at any time. Okay, right. Number 4, right? Number 4, you can write, Environmental protection, right? Environmental protection, right? 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 Because the government doesn't like you as a business organization harming the environment, polluting the environment by cutting trees, putting unnecessary chemicals to the nearest streams and all, because it will pollute everything. The government doesn't like that because it'll be costly for the government to reinstate those. So in that case, government would be interested if organization of if business organizations are doing certain projects to protect the environment. That's why you have seen a lot of businesses they are doing beach cleanup projects, tree planting projects for environmental protection. Right? Okay. Right. Then number five, another area that the government is highly interested in what? Creation of jobs, job creation, job creation. Right? Because why students? If the unemployment rate, unemployment, right? If the unemployment rate is high, that's a very big problem. නේ? Unemployment rate කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? People are they are in the economy without any jobs. That's a big problem. Why? Because if you don't have a job, you don't have any income stream. Then automatically you'll become a beggar. නේ? Hey, that will be a burden for the government. That will be a burden for the government. So government will be interested in giving support for organizations to create more jobs as much as possible. Then everyone in the country will have a way of earning some money, right? To manage themselves, to manage their families. Otherwise, what happens? They will come to the road and beg, and that's going to be a big problem. Okay, right. Okay, so that's about the government, students. That's about the government. So these are very easy, yeah? Right? Very easy, right? Right. Next, we'll talk about competitors, right? Next, we'll talk about competitors, right? So take around 1 minute, reconcile, and after that, we'll talk about competitors. Go ahead. Or students, right? Okay, right. Now, students, we're going to move on to the seventh stakeholder, right? That is interested in any business organization, right? We call them as competitors, right? right? එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා තරංගකරුවෝ කියලා කියනවා, right? අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා තරංගකරුවෝ කියලා, right? Who are these competitors, right? What is so common about these competitors, right? Competitors, they will offer the similar set of products that you offer, right? That you offer. As an example, Maliban and Munchie, they are direct competitors. They are offering the same product, biscuits, right? So they are called competitors, right? Competitors are businesses that offer similar products or services in the same market. Right. Now, students, as a competitor, what are the areas that you will be interested in? Just think that you are a competitor, right? In any industry, in the biscuit manufacturing industry, you think that you are a competitor. You think that you are a competitor. You have to compete with Manchi, Maliban, no? Different types of biscuit brands are there, right? So as a competitor students, what are you interested in? Right? Okay. So let's look at one by one. Okay. Number one, students, as a competitor, right? You will be interested in fair competition. Right? Fair competition. කියන්නේ මොකද? අපි කියනවා සාධාරණ තරඟයක් නේ. Right? Right? Even though you are even Maliban, Manchi, they are competitors, but they will be interested in competing with each other in a fair way නේ. සාධාරණ විදිහට. Right? Okay? Right? Right? Okay? Fair competition. Right? Right? Now, I've seen lots of news in the market, right? Where there are lots of unfair practices and illegal things are happening just to win over the competition, right? Sometimes there might be competitors, students, they are spreading false rumors, ne? Right? Right? False rumors, boru matavada, false rumors about other competitor, that the other competitor is using defective material, inferior quality material, right? ඇත්තටම බැලුවොත් එහෙම කරන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි මේ බොරු කියන්නේ for what? To get his customers to your product. That's not fair competition. That's unfair. That's unfair. You cannot survive long when you do those things, right? You have seen a lot of instances where, right? I have seen that. Okay, right. So number one, if you want to compete, compete in a fair way, and you will be interested as a competitor to compete fairly. Number two, students, right? Number two, you will be interested in following industry standards, right? Right, industry standards, right? Industry standards, right? Industry standards, right? Right, right. Now, students, in a particular industry, right, you will have different types of competitors, as I told you. As I told you, different types of competitors are there. But in this particular industry, you have certain standards that you need to follow, right? To maintain quality, to maintain the safety and the reliability of the products that you offer, right? Right. Irrespective of what industry that you are in, you have to follow those standards, right? So as a competitor, you would be interested if your fellow competitors are also following those same standards, following those same quality standards. Because if you and your fellow competitors are following the same set of good quality standards, ultimately that industry will go up. That industry will create a very good trust among competitors, stating that all the brands in that industry are following very good quality standards so that the customers are happy. But if you look at the opposite of it, let's say if some competitors, for them to win over the market, they breach these quality standards and they start producing inferior quality products, that will harm the entire industry. That will harm the trust of the entire industry where the customers have. Okay. So as competitors, you will be interested if other fellow competitors are also following the industry standards, following the industry standards. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't follow the industry standards, or if any of your competitors are not following the industry standard, that will lead to reduction in public trust, right? Reduction in public trust, right? That will reduce. Things like public trust, you cannot build it overnight. It takes a long time. So if an industry loses its trust of customers, then it will take a long time for them to remake it, right? So yeah. Next one, uh, next one, students, we can say number three, ethical business practices. Ethical business practices, right? Ethical business practices, right? Ethical business practices, right? Okay. Ethical business practices means, students, very simply, right? So this part we are discussing in lesson number 2, right? A big area that we need to discuss in lesson number 2, right? But in here, I'll just explain it to you uh, in short, right? Being ethical means what in life, right? Not only to business, right? Being ethical means as a human being, you always have to do the right thing, right? Right. You always have to do the right thing, right? Right. When you're going to do something, right? Right. You always have to think twice and do the right thing. Haride karandone. You have to be straightforward and honest in what you do. Same as that in business organizations. When you are making business decisions, when you're doing business activities, make sure that you do the right thing in an honest way. Don't deceive your customers. Don't deceive the government. Do the right thing. Try to become a good corporate citizen. That is called ethical business practices, right? Okay, right. So basically, students, I have seen a lot of companies. They do a lot of false uh, advertising claims, no, right? False advertising, no, right? I've seen some toothpaste advertisements. They show you like when you brush your teeth with that toothpaste, your teeth will become white as light, but it won't happen. It's false advertising. False advertising. You cannot do that, right? Okay, right? So as a competitor, you will be interested if your other competitors are also following ethical business practices. Not only that, not only false advertising, some competitors, they use what? Child labor. It's not good, it's very bad, right? Or using labor, and labor exploitation is at the highest. Labor exploitation means what? Taking as much as work from employees and not paying them. Labor exploitation, right? So your fellow competitors, if they are doing that, that is not good. So in that case, as a competitor, you will be interested if your other competitors are also following ethical business practices just like you. Ethical business practices just like you. Because otherwise, what happens? One single competitor does something wrong, and that will harm the good name of the entire industry. That will tarnish the good name of the entire industry. Then that will be harmful for other competitors also who has been doing business in the right way. It's not fair, no? Right? Okay, fine. Okay. Number 4, very important, students. Number 4, protection of intellectual property. Right? Protection of, right, intellectual property. Intellectual property. Protection of intellectual property. Huh? Right? Right. So what do you mean by intellectual property? What do you mean by intellectual property, right? I'll very simply explain you, right? Because you'll be learning about intellectual property in your accounting lessons also, right? Intellectual property, you have to put them under, put them in your statement of financial position as well, right? Right. So what are these intellectual property, students, right? Right. So very specifically, just assume that, right? You have a very creative idea, right? You have a very creative idea, right? An idea where no one is actually has introduced it, but this is a new idea. You introduce that idea, right? A creative idea. Or you have come up with a very good invention by yourself. Invention, right? මොකක් හරි නිෂ්පාදනයක්, which is very new to the market. You know how to produce it. You know the process to produce this new product. It's a new invention to the market. Right? New inventions, right? Or if you have a unique brand, like what? Like KFC, no? McDonald's, right? Unique brand, right? Unique brand, right? So students, these unique ideas, unique inventions that you invented, the brands that you invented, those are your properties, right? Those are your properties. You own these properties, even though they are not physically present, right? Now, if you take ideas, right, it's not physically present. Anyone could copy. If you take inventions, right, take the processes that you use to produce a product, the process is not physically present, but someone could actually anonymously copy your invention idea or your brand. Someone could use a very establish your brand as their brand. Someone could copy, no? Right, 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 right. So these are your properties. How come other people are using it without your permission? They can't. So these are called what? Your intellectual property, right? These are called your intellectual property. These are called your intellectual property, students, right? Intellectual property, right? Right, right. Now, when it comes to this intellectual property, right? Another example for intellectual property is like, let's say you made a song, right? You made a song with a nice video, right? Right, right. That's also intellectual property, right? right? Any creative thing, right? So anyway, students, if you look at this intellectual property, the risk is where people would copy these things without your permission, right? People will copy these things without your permission, but it is your property, right? Now, if you have your own vehicle, people cannot use your vehicle without your permission, right? Cannot do that, right? Just like that, these are also your properties, right? So in that case, you cannot let another person use these things and benefit, right? Without your permission, right? Right? But in that case, students, in the business world, we see these things. We see the intellectual properties of other people, other businesses are being, intellectual properties of other competitors are being used by another competitor without permission. As an example, right? KFC, right? KFC, right? You come up with a restaurant and you name it KFC, and you have the same logo of KFC, right? Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? With that, what do you call the face of what do you call the founder of KFC? Yeah, you have that logo and everything. You use everything without permission of KFC. You cannot do that. That is the brand of KFC is the intellectual property of KFC. If you're using that, you have to get permission. You have to get permission. But if you use it without permission, or if someone uses any of these properties without the owner's permission, right, then the owner can take legal action against this. Legal action against this, right? Okay, right? So normally, students, these intellectual assets at the beginning we call them as intellectual assets, right? Then since there's a risk of copying by other people, these owners, what they do is they register these things. They legally register, right? On a particular given act, they legally register these things, and it shows that it is, the rightful owner is the person, right? Then those intellectual assets will be converted into intellectual property once you legally register it, right? It is property then, right? It's your property, right? Right, 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 right. Then we have all these trademarks, right? Copyrights, no? Have you seen when you're playing a song or a video, there's a statement, you see, copyrights are with the first owner, which means you cannot copy them. Copyrights are there, which means that particular song has been legally registered. If you copy it, the rightful owner can take action against, legal action against you, right? For brands, we have, when you legally register a brand, we call it a trademark, right? Okay, right, right. So likewise, students, we have seen competitors using the intellectual property of other competitors without permission. That is wrong. So one of the things that a competitor would be interested in protecting the intellectual properties, because it's what you have built, it's what you own, so you are the only person should benefit out of this, not any other person. Fair, no? Right? Fair, no? Right, right, fair. So that's about competitors, students. That's about competitors. That's about competitors, right? Okay, good.